after you get all of your details glued onto the face of your stuffie, you are going to start to sew your stuffie together. On the face, you should have glued all of the details first before you start this. So these will be cut out of felt, and then they will be glued to the front of the body. So once those are all glued there, then you're ready to start this process. So if you haven't glued your facial features, stop watching the video and go do that, and then come back to this part. Okay, to sew, you're going to start with both pieces, but you're going to have obviously your back on the table and the face facing you. You're going to start with one of these big needles. This is called the eye of the needle. This is where the thread is going to go through. So we're going to be using embroidery floss, which is a nice big colorful thread that we can use. You can pick any color you want for this. I chose pink since I have white and black. So first you're going to take the thread in your fingers, and then you're going to take the needle and you're going to push the needle on top. So see how I wasn't trying to shove the thread through the needle? I'm trying to push the needle on top of the thread. Now you have a lot of strings, so you have to keep them together. So I just put that in my mouth, so if you need to do that, that's okay. So you'll see it go through the eye of the needle, and then you're going to pull this through just a little bit. Once it's pulled through, we're going to make just a tiny little loop knot. So all you have to do is take these two little edges, and you're just going to tie one tiny little loose knot. This is just going to keep your needle from falling off. Because this is such a thick fabric, or such a thick thread, we don't have to use two sides. So then you're going to pull it out to your wingspan. So how wide are your arms? That's how much string you're going to use at a time. Once you have that pulled out, then you're going to snip that end. You're probably going to use most of this string, so keep it nice in its little container, in this little paper part, and don't lose it. Once you have your needle on, then you're going to make your big ugly knot. To make a big ugly knot, you're going to take the opposite end, the one without the needle, and you're going to wrap that 1, 2, 3 times around your fingers. So you shove 1, 2, 3. Once you have 3, you're going to take your thumb and you're going to wiggle, 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 rub that thread together. Once you're done, stop, pinch it, and then you're just going to pull the thread. And you'll see you get a big ugly knot. We want this to be a nice knot because we don't want our whole thing to come apart. So I see I pulled it a little bit, and I do have a little bit of extra. So I'm just going to take some of that extra off. Don't cut too close to the knot or it will fall apart. So you see I just have that much, okay? Now we're going to do what's called a blanket stitch for our monster. So watch carefully and watch this as many times as you need to get this right. So we're going to go from the front or the back, it doesn't really matter. Start on the end where you don't have anything you need to sew in. So if you have something like this, that's going to be sewn in later. So we're going to start on the bottom edge because I have nothing to sew in down here. My hair's on top. So from the back, I'm just going to take my needle, I'm going to poke this through both pieces of my felt, maybe. Pull that through until your knot stops. Once your knot stops, then you're going to bring the thread back to the other side. We're going to go, you can go on either side of your newly made knot. And on the second one, we're going to loop our extra thread around our needle. So we're going to pull the thread through that loop, and you're going to see that you're going to get a little bit of a line on the side. So you're going to go through the back again. Every time we're going through the back to the front, through the back to the front, back to the front. So through the back, find my loop of string. So I'm going to pull a little bit until I find that loop. Needle goes through the loop and pull. So what you should see is a stitch. Oh, sorry. What you should see is your stitch across like that. So now next step, I'm going to go back through the back side. Pull your needle through, until you get to that loop. Once you get to that loop, before you pull it all the way through, get your needle through there and pull that tight. It's going to give you that blanket stitch edge. Okay, next step, same thing. We're going to go back through the back side. Make sure you're pulling your thread tight every time. We don't want to end up with any loose spots. We want him to be nice and secure. So back through the back side. These needles are a little bit duller, so I didn't want you to stab yourselves, but then that also means we have to push a little bit harder. So all the way through, there's our loop. Needle comes through the loop, and we pull it tight. Okay. Same thing, watch again. Through the back side. And through your loop. Pull it tight. Through the back side. So between both pieces of fabric every single time you poke this through. Oh, this is hard. We'll get it through. How about we get it through one piece and then we get it through the second piece. There we go. We're going to pull, pull, pull until you find that loop. Once you find that loop, guess what? It goes back through the loop. Pull. Okay, so that was about 5 stitches. We want that to be nice and tight, so pull it every time. Boom. So this is called a blanket stitch. So you want to have that little piece of thread in between every time, and that's what we get when we make our loop. So let me show you one more time. Poke it through your pieces of fabric, maybe one at a time. You only want to have about, a little distance in between each thread. So you don't want to hop because then you're going to have holes. So we want to make sure we keep these close and we keep them tight. Through your loop. Okay, so pull, pull, pull. That's right. See, I'm kind of keeping my thumb there so that my loop doesn't go through. As soon as it gets tight, I know it's there. Then I pull my needle right through, and then I pull that tight. Boom. Okay, same thing. Through the back side. Thumb is in my loop again. Needle goes through my loop, and I pull it tight. You're going to do that all the way around your stuffie, so your entire edge will be sewed just like this. So you can see my blanket stitch all the way around. Okay? Now when you come to a point where you have an arm or you have hair or something, you are simply going to take that hair and you're going to stick it in between your 2 pieces of felt. So once it's in between your 2 pieces of felt, you're going to do the same stitch. You're just going to go around it so that you get all of those things. So you'll go through your hair, you'll go through the 2 pieces of felt, and you'll sew around those things. Then once you get here, you'll start your normal stitch just like we were just practicing. Now, when we get close to being done, it's going to be time to make knots. So you should never go any less than this much string. So about 3 to 4 inches before it's time to make a knot. Do not wait until the end. Haha, do not. Do not wait until the end because you're not going to have enough room to make this happen. See how my thread won't do that? So I need to have at least 3 to 4 inches left over. So when you get close to this, we're going to make our knot. So I'm going to go show you how to make a knot, even though I'm not quite ready. So I have all my stitches done, or I've run out of string, either way. So I'm going to take my needle through a piece of the fabric. So you can see it's through just this white piece of fabric. Then I'm going to take the end of my string and I'm going to go 1, 2, 3, 4 times around the needle. Okay, so I'm through fabric 4 times around the needle. Poke it through your fabric, wrap your string 4 times around the needle. Once it's wrapped just like that, you're going to push the needle through and then you're going to kind of pull the rest of this thread. You won't have as much because you'll be at the end. You're going to pull the rest of this thread through and you'll see that you get a nice big knot right there at the end. Now we want to cut, oh, there we go, right there at the end. So now we want to cut this, but we don't want to go too close. You go too close, it's going to fall apart. You have to resew it. So leave yourself about 1/4 of an inch. That's that much, okay? And that is how to get your stuffie sewn and put together. We'll talk about stuffing later.